All right. Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Happy 2026. Can't believe I'm saying that. I feel like just a couple of months ago, I was sitting in the same exact spot presenting part one of our 2025 Social Success Series. We've come a long way since last year, and we are restarting fresh this year. So, welcome. I hope you guys all had a great holiday season. I hope you had a happy new year. And most importantly, I hope you guys are staying warm. I live in Orlando and it's freezing down here, so I can only imagine how the rest of you feel north of us. But without further ado, part one of our 2026 Social Success Series. If you joined us last year, you kind of know how this works. If this is your first time, first of all, welcome. Super excited you're here. But basically, our Social Success Series this year is a 4-part series where I talk about all things social media for hotels. So different topics that we'll cover, but they all at the end of the year will come together to kind of give you one big game plan and strategy. I really wanted to focus on January, this year, just kind of refocusing our strategy, right? Last year, there were so many social media updates. We talked about so many different things, and it can be super overwhelming. So kind of rather than doing more and more and more, I want to strip it down and refocus our strategy and think about things that maybe we can do a little bit less of heading into this year. So just a couple of other things to cover. Make sure you can see myself as well as the presentation. Feel free to take notes while you're on here, but you will receive this recording after the event. So don't feel like you need to take screenshots or get everything written down. You will have this event for as long as you need it. And then possibly my favorite part of our Social Success Series is our Hotel Social Media Champion Badge. So last year we had a 5-part series, and if you attended every single one, you received this badge that you see here. And at the end of the year, if you posted on LinkedIn, you were entered into a raffle to win this basket that we did. So it was a content creation basket. It had a tripod, it had lights, it had everything you needed to create content at your property. Was super excited to give that to Gina Miller of TPI Hospitality. She attended all 5 events, posted on LinkedIn, and won that giveaway. So we're going to be doing the same exact thing this year. If you did it last year, don't worry, you're eligible to do it again. And if you're new, welcome. This is your chance to do this. So if you have any other team members or anyone else that you want to join in on this to, increase your chances of winning this giveaway at the end of the year, feel free to send them this webinar as well. Again, they'll be able to watch it on demand, so they won't miss a thing. But make sure that you do watch it, that you do register, because I'm able to pull the names that way. All right, well, let's jump into today's topic. So I want to give a little run through kind of some things I talked about last year. And before we start talking about what we're going to do this year, where we should start right now. So a quick audit of our social media, right? I'm really focusing on Instagram for this example, but this applies for every other social media platform that you might be on. And I want you to put yourself in the shoes of a traveler, right? Don't think about yourself running the Instagram. Think about yourself as a traveler first. I know specifically for me as Gen Z, this is what I consider the hotel's website, right? I can't tell you, I really don't think I go to a hotel's website other than to book. I'm not really looking at anything on there. I'm going to their Instagram, I'm going to their TikTok, whatever social media they have. We know this is super popular for Gen Z, right? We are doing our search on social media. Everybody is talking about how social is the new search, and that's not going to go away. It's just going to keep ramping up. So taking a look at our Instagram profile basics. So making sure that our bio is up to date with your address, add your personality here. You have the opportunity to add emojis, say a little bit about your property, what it is, and then story highlights. So as you can see on this image, those small blue circles are your story highlights. Think about this as chapters in your hotel's book. So this is a place where me as a traveler, I can come get quick information depending on what topic I'm looking for. So whether that's F&B options, amenities, other things that travelers would need to know, break those up into stories so that content is easy to get, right? So the way you post to those is whenever you post on your story, add it to the corresponding highlight. That lives on your profile forever. So it's not something in your feed that's going to disappear or get pushed to the bottom as you post more. It will always live at the top there. So kind of same thing with the pinned content. So what this is on Instagram, that first row of your content will be pinned at the top. So this section that's highlighted, right? The first 3 images at the top, you have the opportunity to pin it, which means it will stay there no matter how many times you post. So let's just say you're running a spring sale for spring break, and we want that to run from March to May, or whatever the case may be. Pin that post so that if I, as a traveler, go to your profile, that's the first thing I see, right? Same with link placement. This kind of goes back into that bio, making sure that your link is up to date, whether you're sending people to your website or sending them to a link tree that has your other social media. Please, please, please have a link, because if a traveler does want to do some more research or maybe even book in that moment, it's super easy to access, right? They don't have to go to any other platform, Google, they can just access it straightly from your Instagram. So let's talk a little bit about visual consistency and first impressions. The best exercise I can offer to you to do is show your friends and family the Instagram you're running, right? Hey, take a look at my hotel's Instagram. What are your first impressions? If you had to give me a 3-sentence blurb on what you think the vibe is of my hotel, maybe things that you can do at the hotel, what does that look like? You know your property in and out. You see it every day, but as a traveler first, what are the things I'd want to know? What are the things I'd want to take away from that social media? So the best way to do that is asking people that have zero correlation, zero relation to your property, and see what they think. Another way we can do this is seeing what are our guests posting about when they tag us. If we're getting tags about our pool consistently, and that's what people talk about the most, that's the content we should be pushing more frequently. Same thing if you have a really awesome bar or something that makes your property unique, whether it's the location or things like that. Are they tagging us? And then are we aligning our content with what they're tagging us in, right? If we're posting about our spa, but nobody else is talking about that, maybe we should rethink what we're talking about, because that may not be the biggest seller, right? So making sure that there's alignment with what your guests are posting and what you are posting. So also, I would recommend at the end of each month, just looking at the different kind of content you're posting, right? So promotional, whether that's, ads you could consider, experiential, so what you can do while you're staying with us, or trust building things. Just keep tab of how many each of those you're posting per month. And then if you're noticing, wow, we're really promotional heavy, try something else the next month and just compare and see how that works out for you. But the key takeaway from this, right, is again, if that traveler landed on your page today, would they immediately understand what your property is about, what the vibe is, what they can expect from just looking at your social media, from reading that bio, from looking at your story highlights, from looking at your content? Do I get the full picture that you're trying to paint? So we're going to discuss a little bit about what we could stop posting this year and what we're going to double down on. So first of all, overly polished brand graphics with no context. And I want to preface this by saying ads and promotional posts have their place on social media, right? We see ads every day. Our social media is filled with ads, but if that's all we're posting and it's overly polished, the image is perfect, it just seems fake to me, AI generated it maybe, I don't really care, right? I'm going to keep scrolling. I'm probably not going to read. This is a super simple image of a hotel room that says book with us. There's nothing there that interests me, right? I see the post, I read the caption in half a second, I'm scrolling. So I will talk about in a little bit how we can make these promotional posts work. Then generic stock imagery that is clearly not your hotel. This is super important, because if you post this photo right here of your hotel and I show up and it looks nothing like this, you're in big trouble. And that's going to your reviews, right? And that's going to drop your review score. Social media needs to be the truth. We see it time and time again. People are posting a lot of stock images now. They're posting a lot of AI images, which again, you can make those work, right? If we're posting a stock image of some weights, we have a weight room or we have a gym, that makes sense. But I am talking about photos where it's clearly not your hotel, because that is misleading. It's not accurate. You're going to have some unhappy guests when they show up. And then posts that strictly market to travelers instead of showing the experience. So kind of what I said before, there is a time and place for these kinds of posts, right? You're running an ad, we need to get bookings, we're running a promotion for room rates. That makes sense. What I'm saying here is there is a way to post those with still giving travelers an experience. They can still understand what your property is about. You can still fit in that deal you're running without it just being a straight up ad. Make it interesting. So then what can we double down on? Real moments from the property, authenticity. I say it time and time again because it is true. We want to post real people that are at our property, real people that are having a great time, right? We have this image of a grandfather and his granddaughter surfing. This isn't a photo of the property, but it's stuff you can do in the area. And then content that answers traveler questions. This is a super simple photo of a breakfast spread, right? We have free breakfast from 6 to 10. That's in the caption. Super easy post. It really took nothing. You could do that tomorrow. You could go take a photo of your breakfast spread and put that as the caption. But guess what? That's answering a question I may have. I didn't have to go to your website. I didn't even have to go to the front desk to ask you. I went to your Instagram and was able to look at that. This is also a good example. If you post something like this on your story, add it to that story highlights, right? Of breakfast or F&B, whatever the title is you have for it. But again, this doesn't need to be some crazy, beautiful post. This is super simple, but it's answering a question. That's information your traveler would want to know. And then, of course, posts that highlight your rooms, your amenities, your location, and your vibe. I look at this social media feed right here. I can see a photo of the room. I can see a photo of the things to do in the area. I see a photo of the pool, a restaurant even. Making sure we get that full experience, right? I don't have to ask any questions. I can picture myself in all those photos. So again, key takeaway is authentic over aesthetic, right? Save your picture perfect photos for your hotel website. That's a great place to put them. But Instagram, we want to see the real moments. We want to be able to picture ourselves there. And I'm sure you can relate to that as a traveler yourself. So what's working right now? So we know Reels, TikToks, YouTube Shorts, those are going to perform. They're going to continue to perform. Video content is king. So making them short, real, and informative. Show your amenities, show your staff, and it can be super quick. You can even make videos out of photos. So just being creative in that way to make those reels can go a long way, because we've seen on Instagram, you can probably look at your own analytics. Your videos are always going to perform better than your still graphics. Another way to get a little creative with these simple photos is a carousel. So we saw that example of the hotel room that was just that one shot. That doesn't really give me anything, right? But if we post a carousel like this, I immediately know, oh, this hotel has a beach volleyball, they have pickleball, they have golf, and they have a basketball hoop. Those are all the amenities right there. I don't need to look at the website. I don't need to ask any questions. So you have all these images. You probably had a photographer at some point come and take photos, post it in a carousel. You could even do a room walkthrough, right? Like, here's the bed, here's the bathroom, here's the TV, here's the view. Put that in a carousel. It's much more engaging. People are going to swipe through because they want to see what else is there. And then stories, we touched on this. This is a great place for behind the scenes, reminders, and just a good way to get engagement. You can post a poll on your story. You can get people's reactions to things. And then again, reposting those on our highlights, right? So really super simple. And if you ever post a story that's, hey, we're having this event tonight, post that on your story. It'll be gone in 24 hours. So just taking advantage of content formats that are easy, that don't require you to do much more extra work. So we're going to talk a little bit about a couple of things that I see are fading out as we head into this new year. So first of all, a one-size-fits-all promotional post, right? So we're going to say no to ads and we're going to say yes to answers. So for example, we're seeing this isn't working anymore because we know, you probably know, when you get on social media, you're not really wanting to look for ads, right? You're looking for answers. If I'm going to go research your hotel, I don't need to see all your prices, all of those things. That's what your website is for. I want to find the answers. I want to see the experience. So when you look at your social media, and these are some questions you can ask your friends and family that you're showing. What does this place feel like, right? Is it going to be right for the kind of trip I'm on? And can I picture myself here? If the things you're posting don't help them visualize the experience, it's super easy to scroll past. Go to that same image of that hotel room. I get it. This is a hotel room. Swipe. Nothing else is really, there's no feeling to that, right? I am not feeling any emotion towards that. So another way we can change that is instead show that room in use instead of perfectly staged. We could highlight a specific detail about it. So check out the view, our workspace, maybe the pool vibe, and making sure we're adding context in the caption, right? Who is this best for, when it's best, and why it matters. So an example shift, and you might even feel this as I read it. Instead of having a caption that says book your stay today, change it to, here's what a weekend stay looks like when you're visiting for a concert downtown. And that could be a carousel of your images, right? Super easy way to change that shift so people can get a better idea, picture themselves there. So this is a good visual example of what I'm talking about, right? Book your stay with us. Click the link in bio to reserve your room today. We could easily change that, make it 10 times better by creating a carousel. Excuse me. So visiting for a weekend getaway Here's what a stay with us looks like from check-in to winding down after exploring the city. Save this for your next trip. The best kind of marketing is when your guests or your potential guests don't even realize they're being marketed to, right? If I saw this and I might be planning to visit the city, I'm going to save it. I'm going to send it to my friends. Hey guys, this might be a good property to stay at because look, with this one carousel, we get a perfect picture of what our stay would look like. We're walking into the room. Here's the view. Enjoying breakfast in our room. What are the bathroom amenities that they have to offer? We're sending the same message, but it's these little changes that take you from ads to answers, right? And then also content that is made for the algorithm instead of the traveler. So no to trends and yes to helpfulness. And what I mean by this, again, trends have a place. This is why TikTok blew up, because of the trends. But you don't need to jump on every single trend, right? Just because something is trending, just because you saw it on your feed from some other industry does not mean it's going to work for hospitality, and definitely doesn't mean it's going to work for your hotel, especially if you understand what your demographic is and you have mostly people aged from 50 to 80. The TikTok trend that your 16-year-old saw may not be relevant to them, right? So keeping this in mind. But platforms are prioritizing content that keeps users engaged, not content that merely follows trends, right? So we as travelers can tell when that's feeling forced or it's a little out of place, like who's running this social media, because this literally makes no sense, right? So if someone's watching your video and again, they can't understand where you're located, what makes you different, or why they should stay there, the content isn't doing its job. It should answer at least one of those questions. So what can we do instead? Use trends. I'm not telling you not to do them, but only if they naturally support your message and they work. So focus on that clarity over cleverness, and then answer common traveler questions through video and carousels. Example, again, if we're just using a trending audio because it's popular and there's literally no context to it, but instead using that same trending audio and explaining 3 things that our guests love about staying with us, yada, yada, yada. List those 3 things. That answers a question, right? That makes sense to me as a traveler. And you use that trending sound because most likely it's going to be pushed to the algorithm. So you can use these trending sounds, you can do these trends, but as long as they make sense for your message and what you're trying to accomplish. So just a key takeaway from all of that, performance is going to come from a consistent, thought out strategy, right? Not just doing trends. And I want to say, people are really quick to assume that, oh, I'm going to have a Gen Z person run my social media because they live on social media. That may work for some properties, but they don't have that marketing experience, right? Just because I'm on TikTok all day doesn't mean I'm qualified to run someone's hotel Instagram, right? Keep that in mind. Just because they're young doesn't mean that they may know every single thing, right? So I want you to also remember that your social media, whether you're on it or not, and you should be on it, but it's a part of the booking decision whether you're going to treat it that way or not. So whether you think it's important or whether you don't, my generation, multiple people are going to look at your social media and you don't even know it, right? You didn't see that in your analytics. You may have seen you got a certain amount of views, but you're not going to know who it was, when it was, all of those things. So just making sure that you're prioritizing it, because even if you hate social media, people are using it before they book with your property. Okay, so where should we focus our energy now? Because we're heading into 2026. Well, we're kind of already full steam ahead. So, excuse me. I posted this social media content calendar a few weeks ago on my LinkedIn. A lot of people commented that they want it, so I was sending it out. But I did this for a reason, right? Again, you guys are hoteliers. You're busy. You weren't hired. Some of you were hired to run social media, but if you're on this call and you're a GM or you're someone that is just doing it because it needs to be done, this is super helpful, right? So posting more does not equal better results. I want this to be in your head. Just because you post 8 times a week does not mean that means you're doing better, right? So consistency over frequency is more important. So for example, if you post 8 times a week and then you disappear for 2 months, the algorithm is really confused, right? They're not going to push your content anymore. And when you do start posting again, it's confused because of where have you been? We got to let it build up more. It takes a while to build your algorithm and for the algorithm to trust your content and want to push it out, right? So instead of posting every day for 2 weeks and then disappearing, make it your mission to post twice a week, every week, with clear themes. So what I did in this social media content calendar is it's January to December with like 2 to 3 posts per week and a bunch of post ideas on the side if you want to sprinkle them in. So if you did not get a chance to get this calendar, make sure you go to my LinkedIn. It's linked right here on the console. DM me, I will send this to you. It's a really good tool. And if you know somebody that may want it as well, make sure that you send them my LinkedIn so they can get that. And then I mentioned this before, clarity over creativity. Again, that creative content is great, but only if it's clear, only if it works for your message. So if we have an unclear reel with a text that just says escape the ordinary, that's aesthetic, right? But it's not answering those questions. So doing the same thing, we're sending the same message, but changing that copy to say escape the ordinary with a one-night stay at our family-friendly property. That answers the question for a lot of families out there. Okay, they're family-friendly. That is the same message, right? We're just adding a little bit more context. One, so your guests know what's happening, and two, so the algorithm can pick up on those things. We talked about this last year, how now Instagram's algorithm is picking up on all the words you put in the caption or on the video. So if you just put escape the ordinary, algorithm has no idea who that should push it to, right? So adding in those contexts makes it easier for that to understand who to send it to. And then showing the experience over selling the stay, right? Selling feels like advertising. None of us want to be sold to anymore, but showing me feels like you're trying to tell me a story and I'm being marketed to without me really even realizing what you're doing, right? It's planting those seeds in my head. So when I am ready to book, you're at top of mind. So instead of saying luxury accommodations in the heart of the city, here's how guests spend a morning staying in the heart of the city, promoting some local businesses in your area. It's just much more homey feeling, right? I feel like I want to be a part of that. I'd be excited to stay there because now I feel like I know the area very well. And it just feels like part of the community. That's what people want to feel when they travel, right? They want to be comfortable at your property. They want to kind of easily intertwine themselves into the community around it. And that's a great way to do it through your content and through the words you put with it. So if you're sitting here and you're like, I don't have any social media, or I'm, at the bottom, we have done nothing, I want to give you some simple priority frameworks that you can take as a starting point. So first, focus on one core platform. If you have none, just focus on one. And I would recommend Instagram strictly because that is a platform where you have all types of content. You can post videos, stories, graphics, photos. And it mostly is the biggest platform for travel research, right? We see TikTok climbing up there a little bit, but getting more information, Instagram is a really good core platform to focus on. And then one core content goal. Maybe you've really only ever posted photos. Challenge yourself this year to, okay, we're going to do more stories, or we're going to do more carousels, or maybe I want to intertwine one video per week. Again, if you're starting from zero, just focus on photos. We all start somewhere, so just making sure that you're continuing to add as you move along. And then one clear audience. Know your demographic. If you already have Instagram, it's super easy to go into your settings, your insights, see who is looking at your content. It tells you the age, it tells you where they're located, it tells you everything you would need to know so that you can tailor your strategy to make sense for your demographic, right? So again, consistency and purpose create that momentum that you will need. But I do want to say, right, that's just one piece of the puzzle. If you're like, oh yeah, I can do Instagram, there is a whole world out there that you are not ready for, right? So many other platforms, so many other content things we can do. It's only one piece. And I want you to think about this. If you have someone running your social media right now and they end up leaving, they go to another property, they got a different job, does your social media just stop? Is the posting gone? Or we were posting consistently, they left, we have nobody to fill the job? Are you trying to pull someone to run the social media until you can find someone? It's super important to have a trusted partner, right? And this is why I think that Travel Media Group is a perfect solution for this, because we have a dedicated team of social media content creators that do this day in and day out, right? They're not going to call in sick. They're not going to take a day off. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to worry about it. You know that your social media is consistently posting. And the hoteliers that are sitting on this call that already work with us can tell you that I'm sure this is a big stress reliever for them. They don't even have to think about it. And as we head into 2026 and Instagram and TikTok continue to do these updates and it becomes bigger and bigger, it's time to double down. It's now or never. We're in January. If you've been thinking about it, if you thought about it last year and you're like, maybe now's the time, it is the time. I cannot stress this enough.